Howdy, Possum Patty here with my summer journal, Sandy Toes and Salted Kisses. And I only have like 2 more spreads to do. And this is the second to the last. And then when I turn the page, that'll be the last. So I am just journaling about June 27th when my son and daughter-in-law came over and we all went to Ryan's New York Style Deli for lunch. And then we went to an historical site here in Connecticut that none of us had ever been to before. And it's called Old Newgate Prison and Copper Mine. And it was the very first state prison on the continent and the very first chartered copper mine. And it's been closed for a while. They did some renovations, and so we went to check it out. And this is their sign, the symbol of the Newgate Prison, which was actually named after the Newgate Prison in England, is these crossed keys. And the prison was established in 1773. The copper mine was established way before that, in around 1707. And the reason they made this into a prison was because the mine was no longer being used, and they decided that the big hole in the ground would be a good place to keep the prisoners. So the prisoners actually had to live down in the unused copper mine, and then they had to come up above ground to work in the factory making nails. So I got this postcard. This is the guardhouse. And then there's another postcard over here. And this is an engraving from the 1800s showing the guardhouse and the place where they used to make the nails. And then there was like a little building over the shaft that went down to the copper mine. So they really didn't have a tour of the grounds, but I guess occasionally they do have some interpretive events. But they did give a guided tour of the mine, so we actually went down into the copper mine. So let's see. Early this morning I started cutting out some things to set up the page. And you know, I had gotten this pack of paper. This is one of Michael's packs of paper. You know, and sometimes they have some lovely pages, and sometimes they have some pages like, what am I ever going to do with a green sheet of keys? What would that go with? And then all of a sudden you visit a place and the symbol is keys. So voila, the perfect background. So I have 2 postcards. I have my paper with the keys, and then also in this paper pad they have these little borders. So I cut out the one with the keys on it. And that's not the one I was going to use. Where's the one I was going to use? Okay, I got to find it. Oh, here it is. Because, see, I cut out the little gold things. So I could put some keys across the top. I have my sign with the keys. I have my postcard. I was thinking about sewing this and making a pocket. And then in the pocket, I can put this card and do my journaling on the back. And then, out of my old book that I'm using the pages as backgrounds, I found this picture with the little man in the prison. And that reminds me of something that I saw there, which I'll explain about in a few minutes. So this is very old paper, so I was thinking about just ripping this out and maybe Mod Podging it up in the corner. And then journaling on the rest of the card. I did find another big key to my heart, but I don't know if that'll go on the page, because while we were there and I bought these postcards, they did have a selection of stones, which you can't put in your journal, which is funny because I actually did make a journal with stones in it. And this is a star mica. Usually mica comes in flat sheets and you can peel off very thin layers. And this one's called star mica, probably because the mica is all chopped up into little bits, and it does sparkle like the stars, and it does shed everywhere, but that's okay. I like shiny. And this one is supposed to be Midnight Quartz, which is just a very dark variety of smoky quartz. And this one said copper, but it looks more like Criscola, which is a mineral with copper in it. Because when you see copper in a rock, it usually just kind of looks like this. Can you see that little bit of green on there? It's usually not this bright color like this, I don't know. It is a copper mineral, but not the kind of copper that they were mining in that mine. So I can't put my rocks there, so I use my phone and my little Miss Ivy tiny printer, and I took a picture of my stones, and I was thinking about putting that on the page. Somehow get it in there, and then journaling on a card. So I think that'll be it for this page. I've got mica everywhere, but that's okay. A lot of things are made out of mica, people don't realize, but you know, a lot of that sparkly eyeshadow actually has little tiny bits of mica in it. So let's see. You got to think about the order in which you need to do things. And I should probably move my rocks out of the way, right? I should probably do the Mod Podge first, because that'll take a little while to dry. So I gotta go find my Mod Podge. Stand by. I think I'm going to use a little bit of this Sparkle Mod Podge to stick this down, because this is such a dreary picture of this guy locked into jail. And we can sparkle him up a little bit. So like I was saying, this place has been closed for a while. It's run by the state of Connecticut, and they were doing some renovations. We got there kind of middle of a Sunday afternoon, and we went in, and there were not a lot of people there. But there was a lot of signage to read. Like I was saying, not really any tour guides around the place. You had to kind of walk around, read all the signs. But there were some lovely ruins and beautiful, beautiful stone walls. And I just loved looking at all these old stone ruins. Reminded me of when we went to Rome.
We'll come back out here when we're done.
Yeah, good morning. And then, like I was saying, there was the guardhouse. That's a big brick building there. And the postcard. And underneath the guardhouse, if you go in down here below, see, I guess the guards lived up here, but down here they had some cells and different things. There's actually like a little art exhibit down in the stone cells in the basement of that house. And these pictures were downright scary. But I guess they reflected the the prisoner's life at the prison being kind of horrible. I'm going to put my brush in some water here. And then there was an older painting. I think the pictures of the prisoners and the little squares of faces in the dark was more of a modern painting. Looked like they were done on wood panels. And then there were some large older paintings depicting scenes from the prison. And then we went down into the mine.
So that is the shaft that was built in 1707, and the miners.
Okay, I'm going to go over and sew this postcard on to make a pocket. I got my pocket sewed on. I think I'll glue this down now. Let's go ahead and do this. So we went down into the mine. And it was very dark, of course, and damp, lots of dripping water. The mine does not go very deep into the ground. Excuse me, I think the deepest part we went was about 75 feet below ground. And apparently up until a few years back, you had to go through this shaft and climb down this ladder to get into the mine, but they went ahead and built a staircase. So you just go down 33 steps, and then once you're inside the mine, you go a little deeper, and there's like a little chamber, and that's where the prisoners had to live, and it was a pretty small space. And apparently they would have up to like 60 prisoners in this mine. And they thought this old copper mine would be a good place for a prison because they didn't think the prisoners would escape. But apparently their very first prisoner that they put there did escape. And after that there were more escapes. So they had to put a guardhouse right over the opening of the mine at one point. I guess during the Revolutionary War, they had some political prisoners and some that even George Washington had sent there. So once down in the mine, you can see some veins of copper in the rocks.
Copper, you can see the different layers there and a big chunk of copper ore right at the top. Sorry.
It's nice and cool. It's about 52 degrees down there year round. Dripping water and puddles. Some people think the mine is haunted. If you go on some Connecticut haunting websites, that mine is on there. There's my keys. And now I have to somehow arrange my signage and my rocks. I'll write about the rocks on the back of my card, I think. Do that. The mine is built on the side of a hill. There was a nice view, but the trees had kind of grown up. Probably can see out across the hills better in the winter time when there's no leaves on the trees. Okay, this Ivy printer is very small, very portable, runs on Bluetooth. And it prints on, there's no ink in there, it prints on this paper. And this is called Zinc for Zero Ink paper. They had some fun stickers in the gift shop, but you know what? The stickers were like $5 each. I was like, whoa, I'm not paying $5 for one sticker. So the rocks were much cheaper than the stickers, so I bought rocks. I do have a very large rock collection that maybe I'll share one day. I just put too much glue on that. So I always love rocks. At first I thought the printer was messing up and there were some spots. But then I realized those spots are just little bits of mica that were shining on the paper that I was using as a backdrop. Because now there's little bits of mica all over the table. Okay, we're going to let this dry and then I'm going to go get that postcard and do some journaling. And this is almost dry. I wrote on here Sunday, June 27th. After lunch at Ryan's Deli, we visited the old Newgate Prison and Copper Mine in East Granby, Connecticut. We toured the mine, dark and wet, where the prisoners live, now a home to bats. And I made my son and daughter-in-law stick their head through the stocks just to get a fun picture. The prisoners of old Newgate Prison. And that about wraps up my tiny adventure and my journaling page spread. So I want to thank you all for coming along today. Happy junk journaling. Bye-bye now.